good, enjoyable Thanksgiving, those of you that celebrate it. And I was going to go fishing today, but I didn't. I made my rounds and I ate way too much food. So, yeah. So, first off, hopefully you've checked out the full lineup, the full day of fishing. There's 8 videos, and me and Charles, that is, we went out and we went on a tear. It was a slow burn tear because it was raining and it was kind of miserable conditions, but we were catching so many fish. It was actually a good time. It's one of those deals, if the bite would have slowed probably any more than it did, we would have just packed up and been like, we're out of here. So it wasn't horrible conditions, but the week before we were at the same place, and that's when somebody had made the comments about, like, hardcore fishing type deal. Like, you kind of have to be a hardcore angler to get out in too nasty of a situation, and you just keep fishing, right? You're not a tournament fisherman. You're not going to win any money, right? You're just out there fishing for fun to make some videos, that kind of thing. I strung all that footage together, and it ended up about, in the 8 different videos, 30 to 40 minutes, a lot of info in there, just me talking, rattling on. And when I go back and watch videos like that while I'm editing or whatever, some of that stuff I try to leave in, but then honestly, if there's not a fish caught in a while, a lot of that footage just does not make it. So what I've also done, what's coming out tomorrow, there's a kind of a wrap up of just a big fish on that day. So if you've watched those, spoiler alert if you haven't, I basically start out on a jerkbait, bam. Catch a almost 5-pound bass, waste way too much time throwing that jerkbait without anything again, finally catch one little dink. But anyway, so then I go to the jig, this guy over here, and then proceed to catch a lot of fish. Charles is throwing other various baits that are working, but Charles and me up to this point, like, we're back in Dinksville, right? We're catching little, nothing big, like that big one on the jerkbait, and that was it. We go on, then finally the black and blue jig, I catch a few big ones, and I catch another big one. Well, then at the end of the day, catch another big one on the black and blue, and a big one. So watch the video coming out tomorrow is kind of that condensed version that basically shows the biggest fish of that day kind of caught. And what you won't see if you just only watch that video that's coming out tomorrow is all the other stuff I threw, just the stupid stuff we did, the time we take. Sometimes when you just well, let me try something else. So you try a different color and a different other thing. And I usually, especially if I'm at a honey hole, which we were at, there's definitely fish there. You should be able to catch fish. So there's places like that I can switch through stuff. There's some baits, like if you never hear me talking about a baits, it's probably because I've thrown them at honey holes and they actually suck there too, so I'm not going to use them. I may need to put out a video like on that, like what do I actually consider a bait that sucks, because not all of them are truly horrible, but you can kind of, like, you can build confidence in other baits. You cannot go to a honey hole or just at a place when a bite is on and you're throwing this bait, and say you try this bait and this bait sucks. It just kind of lets you, instead of, as the confidence you build in this bait, the more likely, and so it weeds that out. It's not in your mind of something to think about buying again or throwing or that kind of deal. So I kind of like to use it for that. And that's one of those videos where if you're kind of watching it, you'll see, now some of it came down to a little bit of a color. We got on color changes, but I've thrown the slobber knocker knockoffs a little bit. I'll be honest, it's going to have to be, unless it's a hot weather type thing, maybe that they'll kick in or something. But so far, in the times I've thrown the slobber knockers, I am not impressed with them. The Z-Man chatterbaits and the knockoffs or whatever are just a way better. Any of them that have that true, the harder they chatter, in my opinion, is usually the better that's going to be for you. The faster they start, the harder they chatter. The slobber knocker doesn't do either one of those that great. I feel like you have to reel a little harder, faster, just to make it work. And so, in my opinion, it's a downgrade from what the traditional chatterbaits are, and that's kind of in a couple videos before that. But then in that video also, I don't even know if, I think some of that footage made it, but then I also went, like, there's several videos where I use it, and a lot of them you will not see the footage because it flat out don't do anything. Just like in the video that came out today, if you haven't watched it, I threw the chick magnet for a while. Now, I'm going to keep throwing that because I also threw my other hard baits that I feel work, and there just wasn't a bite going on. So that's one of those where the chick magnet may not be any worse than those, but it's definitely not. So far, what I've seen with the chick magnet, it's not quite as good. But, you know, I'm going to keep trying it. Now, what's going to happen is just like what, if you're watching that video, the first 10 minutes of today's video is basically just me throwing a lot of different baits because it takes a while for that place for the bite to kick in. But I tried, you know, chatterbaits, and I tried chatterbaits a lot more than it shows in that video early on. I tried a lot of that stuff. Footage didn't even make it. I may have erased the whole thing or whatever, and I just put about 10 minutes worth in. It was still, seems long-winded to me, trying a lot of different baits. It just, nothing was working. I got up in there where there's some gunky, grassy stuff, and it became a trick of, early on, the chatterbait wouldn't work. But I was basically swimming the jig about the same speed you would a chatterbait, just getting, you know, just the blade barely, you know, where you can feel it's chattering. And they were hitting it. They were on the jig in various colors. But I don't have the jig out here, but basically the bomba, like a jig this color with the trailer like this, and I got on a little bite with that. And then if you guys watch the whole video, you'll see where I get to a point where I actually take a true jackhammer and I put this on the back of it, so I've got kind of a mismatch. And a lot of guys will usually recommend you to match up your, you know, your jigs and your trailers, your chatterbaits and your trailers, which I recommend too. That's normally how I do it. But there's just times when that bite gets tough, especially sometimes colder water, for whatever reason, a mismatched bright color, other bright color, but like totally clashing together can get you bites on a chatterbait and a jig for that matter. So we did that in that video. So I'm going to talk real quick about those videos, and if you've watched in the last few weeks, there's been a few baits that really kicked in and worked better, and it's due to the colder water. These fish slow down, and what where normally, I don't have one out right here, but the last couple years I kind of went away from almost all other soft plastic jigs, bottom bouncing baits, to basically just a shaky head with a Zinkerz, because it just flat out works, and it still works now. Like in the videos you'll see I use it a little, and then I kind of go back to a jig, because I still feel, just like you've heard everybody talk about, on whether it be a professional, tactical bassing guys, a lot of guys, you know, similar to what Bassin Bonsai is, you know, average amateurs, the Googans, all that. A jig, for whatever reason, pulls in a bigger fish generally. It just, typically you can get on a bigger bite with the jig. So, and I've caught some big fish on a Zinkerz, but also these little finesse jigs, you can, I don't know, you can just fish them. In my mind, I can fish it a little faster than I can like a traditional shaky head or even a shaky head with the Zinkerz. I can throw it out almost like I will, and if you watched a couple videos, the whole 8 string of videos and the one from today, I kind of start swimming this thing. I kind of start moving it faster and faster, and it's like they actually hit it better with a little more aggressive movement when that water's in that. It's like not quite 55, but it's above 50. Now usually as it goes down, like it would be now, if I went today, I would definitely start with the little finesse jig like this and a shaky head. Those are probably the main 2 baits I'd probably have rigged on all 4, 5, 6 rods in various colors, sizes, shapes, maybe even a little bitty like the little peewee or something. And I'd be throwing them out there, and I'd be working them real slow to start with. I'd work them slow, and then I'd pick up the pace. And of course, anytime if you're out fishing something and you're going slow and you pick up the pace, like say to reel it in, and then that's when you get hit, well, that should be an indicator like, okay, let me throw it out. Let me, you know, maybe even swimming a shaky head along the bottom, as far as like, you know, you want to kind of stay in bottom contact to the bottom if you're not getting gunked up, but you a lot of times moving that bait. And what I do a lot of times with the shaky head with the Zinkerz is I'm letting it get to the bottom, and I'm actually pulling it and twitching it to give it an erratic movement, almost like you would a jerk bait, because that's when I want them to hit it. I want them to see it and then think it did something that they need to grab it. Like, you know, the jig is up, so to speak, and they need to grab it. They've been spotted. They need it. That's their time, if they're going to eat that bait, to eat it right then and there. And I think if you remember, Maddie was kind of doing that. She was imitating her dad with this jerk bait, and she was kind of popping that jig she had and really got on to, that's what they were wanting more that day especially. But you can do the same thing with almost any bottom bouncing bait. You can go at almost any speed. And what happened with me in that video you just saw that came out today, it wasn't that I didn't try to go slow. You couldn't go where the fish were. It was gunky, mossy, nasty stuff on bottom. If you went anything other than throwing it out and picking it up, basically keeping it moving a little, it just got too gunked up. But they were there and you could get them to hit. But if not, it would catch. You pull up with a bunch of gunk on it and you have to clean it off, waste the cast. So that's something to keep in mind. And we pretty much, I've switched to where I got the goats cut down to where I fit them on my finesse jigs or my chatterbaits. Trying to use those as a trailer, and they work, except for they do not make this color. I think these baits cut down, if you haven't watched the videos me doing that, are very close, maybe the exact same, work just as well as a baby Rage Menace. The baby Rage Menace I feel is a perfect size for these little finesse jigs. I got these at Rogers Sporting Goods, or our jackhammers in 3/8 or ½ ounce, or the AliExpress knockoffs. That baby Rage Menace lets the baits move around, I guess, in my opinion, a little more, or they swim pretty good. They're a flapping motion, but they're not a, it's a rage tail, but it's not a real big rage tail. And so I did basically the same thing with the goat. I slender them down to where they're almost the same profile, where it lets the bait move freer in the water. The chatterbaits especially, let them kind of hunt a little bit. But then on the chatterbait, I cut these down. On the jigs, I was kind of leaving it, and I felt like it was work because I was moving the jigs a little slower, so I let that flap a little more at a slower pace. But the two differences are, if you're cutting them, in my opinion anyway, for a chatterbait, you leave them as long as they are on the goat, not the baby or the billy goat. The regular goat, just slender them down, and then cut these legs about almost all but at least half of the flapper part off to where it just is a little more subtle, less resistance in the water, lets the chatterbait go. When I'm throwing it on a jig, now you can leave it whole, especially if you're throwing it on a bigger regular jig, I would still recommend the goat. And you maybe even leave it not as a thin, or you may want to leave it as wide as they come, or thin a little, not as much. But I recommend starting with the flappers all the way left alone. And if you're using on a big, ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce bigger jig, you may want to even leave the links. But what I do for these smaller jigs is mainly what I throw, is I cut off, and I'll try to show you. The first two are almost the first two notches. So you go to the first notch, down here the second notch. I kind of try to cut that and round it just a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. You could cut it off square, probably perfectly fine also. But I try to make my baits just look roughed up. Like, I don't want real straight lines. I just want to cut it, and I want it jagged and kind of funky looking. Whatever reason, it seems like that will work better than a straight. If this was a perfect looking rectangle, I think that jagged stuff just kind of looks more natural and works. So anyway, that's how I cut those. So what else do I want to talk about? Not going to talk about the reels yet. Let me finish up with the baits. Okay. I haven't had time to use it a lot, so I can't talk a lot about it, but the Pee-wee jig from Jewel is one of those, if you're trying to get deep but you want to be real little and finessey. I've used it a few times with decent results. And then you could really, you could cut down a goat, but the baby goats are a good option on those little Pee-wee jigs, or any of those real little ones. Keytech makes some of them. Keytech, whatever. But that, if you really want to go real finesse, like even beyond, like, and it's not really BFS because you can throw that with a regular rod. That the Pee-wee football head from Jewel, they're not light, they're not heavy, but they're definitely capable of throwing regular casting. You do not have to have BFS gear. You can throw them on BFS gear. They're not like over heavy, but you don't need it. You can throw these on a few of these. You could maybe get by with the AliExpress ones anyway. The 3/8 ounce ones come with a smaller hook. You can get by with like a medium light. I don't really recommend it, but you could if you had to. but this is not BFS stuff. This is just regular fishing stuff. The Zinkerz, I like throwing BFS gear. If you guys don't know, don't follow the channel. This first video you've seen, you're like, what are you talking about? The Zinkerz on a shaky head. I use the VMC, and they come with that. I believe it's a two. Is it two or two size hook? But it's a light wire. It's a very finesse hook, and the hook can be set easily with a. I even did my personal best bass was the light Cayenne Teton 6'6" rod, but 6'6", 7-foot medium light rods can easily set the hook on a VMC rugby finesse jig. So, if you are in the market right now, AliExpress and Tacklewarehouse both have deals going on right now. You can jump on AliExpress, look up some of these reels. You go to Tacklewarehouse, look at their Black Friday stuff. Both sites don't really show you true prices until you take the item you want, put it in your cart, and then go look at your cart, like the total, and then it'll usually, that's when it discounts it. So just for instance, I was on there, and I was going to show you on my computer, but my computer's acting up. But I was on there right before I started this video, and went to Tacklewarehouse, and I was looking to see about the lose reels. If you guys follow the reel test, he talked about the Korean one, the Kadoba, or I can't remember. I think that was the name of that, the silver one. We knew it would be coming out in the lose, and they came out with their pros. They got the purple one for like $3.99, and the other pro or whatever that's all like black with gold highlights, $4.99. Well, those are on sale. It wouldn't really show it. I clicked on the $3.99 purple one. I thought about getting, if I really planned on keeping these purple rods for me, I would have probably bought that one. But it showed $3.99. I put it in my cart, and I went to cart, like if you're going to check out, and it's down to $3.19. So there's a lot of stuff on Tacklewarehouse, and I'm not going to go through all the stuff I suggest. If you guys don't follow, most of you probably do that follow me, also follow Tactical Bassin or Might. They always do their buyers, suggested deal. Right now they got rod and reel ones going out for, they started out, go back and watch those videos on whatever price point you're thinking about getting the rod and reel. They do a real good job of talking about stuff Tacklewarehouse carries. That's kind of what they do. They cover the whole band of bass fishing stuff here in the States that basically you can get from Tacklewarehouse. They don't really deal with anything JDM other than the Mega Bass and, evergreen stuff that Tacklewarehouse carries. They're not on AliExpress doing none of that. But so, and they, honestly, they get out and fish way more of that stuff. They got way more money than me to go out and buy all that different stuff and get out on the water and try it and all that kind of stuff. So I'd check them out. But you guys know, I will tell you that the reels, and I don't know why they do it this way, but once a reel gets over here to the States, it is marked up. It is marked up, in my opinion, insanely. I think the Zillions are selling for like $3.50, something like that. You can get these on Digitaka, and especially even cheaper now. But normally, even no matter what the dollar to the yen ratio is, it's normally cheaper through Digitaka than anywhere I've found for higher end. Shimano, even Abu Garcia for a lot of those, and Daiwa for sure, and Shimano. I want to say $230 right now. You can get a Zillion. You can get the shallow spool, the PE, whatever they call it. You got to click. You got to go in there and click in Daiwa, click on, you'll see down, I think it has a picture of a spool, but it says like parts or something, custom parts or something like that. You click on that, and there's a different spool, and you'll see I think it's 1,000 something PE spool. You click on that, and that's like $100 for the shallow SV spool. It's for braided line. So basically what it'll let you do is like what I do on my reels anyway. But it'll let you take a 34 millimeter spool, put about as much line as like what a 30 MGL or something like that does braid, but you're still up at the height of the 34 millimeters, so you still got the same exact gear ratio when you're reeling in line inches per turn and all that. I kind of cheat the system, since I think these 8 to 5 is probably a little fast for most stuff I do anyway, especially on the chatterbaits and cranking stuff. So I feel about halfway. I can cast lighter baits easier, just less line to mess with. I slowed down my reel on the retrieve by a little bit. Does not hurt the performance, I feel at all. They cast It's basically taking it from a 34 millimeter spool to a 32, probably, something like that, which is still plenty big enough spool to cast regular baits and all that. But if you want a reel, because it's almost a safe bet for sure, if you guys follow the channel, you know, and a high-end reel I recommend, that right there. You can't spend any more money and get a better reel than this. You can spend less money and get something close, or a little more money and get something close. But you can't get any more performance, in my opinion, out of a reel than you can with the newest Zillion 1000 with the SV Boost spool. That thing is just an awesome reel. Comes with the drag clicker already installed. I added this crazy colored handle and all that. But it palms very well. It's not heavy for an aluminum framed reel. Now for these littler BFS type stuff, but it still palms just a touch bigger than these real little bitty reels. But it's a comfortable palming. You just have to, trust me, you have to get one of these and fish it and you're like, okay. That's why Charlie's always talking about it. Because other than the reel test, anybody I've seen on videos, once they get it, like Debo's, if you guys, Tackle Junkie 81, just now put out a video a couple months back about how he missed a boat when he first got his. He wasn't really impressed. He thought anyway, and the more he fishes it, the more he's like, wow. I could tell right off the bat. I put this right up against my Metanium MGL. If you guys remember that, there's a video out there. And I was like, whoa, this reel is legit on casting, on just how it feels, palmability, comes with the drag clicker, all that for, like I said, Digitaka. I'm sorry for the not focusing. Come on. Jeez. But man, for 230 bucks, it's hard to go wrong with a high-end, you know, Shimano or Daiwa, this Zillion at that price. Now, if you're wanting cheap, you've come to the right place. Right here is a reel I recommend that may end up still in the show, even from the Daiwa Zillion, just because of how cheap this reel is. You get on there right now, go to AliExpress, Acura Solo King Acura, and you'll find it at 2 or 3 different stores. And I'm telling you right now, I think it's the same thing. It'll show it like 71. You got to click on that. That's for the single spool. You want the dual, go ahead and spend the money, get the dual. It's going to say 77 or something. But then you want to put it in your cart, click on it just by itself, you know, like you're ready to buy it. And it should jump down. Mine, I'm going to buy one more of these, and it's $65, I think, $64.88 or $64.84, something like that. So I got 3. I got 8 to 1 and 2 7 to 1s. I'm going to buy one more. I don't know, I should buy like 5 and just put them up. These are awesome little reels. I've added this thing, and I don't know if I should even show you the prices to get it to where you can add a different drag star, because the one it comes with is black. And it makes the reel look cheaper. But here's the downside. To get the parts to add that, you can find the drag star. Why won't that thing just stay focused? Jesus, come on, phone. But you can find these for 15 bucks. The problem is that you need other parts, just like the Daiwa has, because it's a spring-loaded one. So you spend another 15 to 20 on the part, so you got about a little over half as much as what the reel costs just to get a cool looking drag star, which in my opinion makes it look a lot better. And you could use the regular handle, which is fine. That it comes with the good carbon fiber one, like all up in 80 millimeter. Or for 12 bucks, you can buy a nice aluminum, thick aluminum one that looks good. It's lightweight, but it's thick. It's cut out though to where it's not that heavy. But it's the ones that I cut down. It's actually this one cut down. You see how thick that aluminum is here? But they do a good job of thinning it down to where it's strong, stout, and it looks good and strong. Like some of these aluminum ones come kind of thin. They almost look cheesy in a way on certain, even some of these, you know, the ones that come factory on some of these reels. But this one, you could leave it long. It's only 12 bucks. But anyway, back to the Acura. The Solo King Acura is the reel out of all other reels, possibly even the Zillion. I think you guys should invest at least to get one of these, if nothing else. If you haven't you know, tried a Dark Wolf Ultra, haven't tried nothing. You're like, what are you guys always talking about these little reels? I'm telling you right now, these little reels are legit for, like I said, about 15 pound and less. I haven't tried 20 yet and setting the drag real tight, but they come with the deep spool that holds plenty. 15 would hold plenty. A 20-pound test, but I don't know if this little, because that is plastic, I'm not sure if that little dude right there would take the pressure on the 20-pound pull for sure. I haven't tried it. 15 pound, I think it'll be okay. I've set my drags pretty tight, and so I think with the 15, now that's 18-pound braid, but it's a 15-pound P-line original, so it probably actually has a little more pull than 15, close to it, before it'll break. But those are awesome reels. Of course, the Dark Wolf Ultra, you can't go wrong. It's still, I think it's pretty cheap at the moment. This reel right here, I guess so far I'm okay with it, and it seems to be the same as the Solo King Acuras. But I'm going to tell you also, while we're on this subject, I'm going to read real quick before I tell you about the bad on AliExpress. Get ready for it. It's not this reel. I think this reel, it's got one hiccup that they need to fix or give you the option for over that the Acura blows it away in. And that's the fact you have to get 7-to-1 ratio if you want the dual spool. The 8-to-1 ratio only comes with the other shallow spool, and it's kind of a different color, right? But hang on, I'll tell you about the bad. Brew Tank Outdoors, he had mentioned in a comment about trading me the Geico pigeon for my Aldebaran, because I said I'll sell it. And then now he's telling me, Charlie, the Geeka pigeon and some leftover turkey for the Aldebaran. And then Nate commented, he just came out of the turkey coma 23 minutes too late. Yeah, don't worry, Nate. I think I'm in a pie coma right at the moment. I've had way too much. Pie, whipped cream, had turkey and ham, had greens, had potato salad, green rice. What else did I have? Cornbread, some kind of little cheesecake. I don't even know what you call those things. Some kind of fancy dessert from France that I cannot remember the name of it, but it's basically like a bunch of different layers of cake, and it tastes kind of like coffee. And the name, it's on the tip of my tongue. I was just talking to somebody about it, because we were talking about a la mode. Anytime you take a cobbler, maybe even any kind of pie or whatever, but when you put ice cream on it, in France that's called a la mode, right? I just call it slap some vanilla ice cream on that sucker and let's eat it. So no, I can tell you right now, I got all the leftover turkey I need, so spicing up a deal trying to add turkey will not do it. Tiramisu, that may be it. That may be exactly what it was, but yeah, I made the rounds. I've made it to my mom's house, my kids' house, which my first ex-wife was there. I made it to Noah's house, his grandma's house, and my second ex-wife was there. So I made all my rounds, right? I'm done. So that's why I was like, let's do a live stream, right? Thanksgiving. Let's go to the bad, and I'm going to finish this video up. Now, yeah, tiramisu sounds, I think there's another one that's close to it. It may have been that. I know one of those is crazy expensive, or like can be. It's like crazy expensive, some of that stuff. My favorite thing, and I've talked about it before, which I had some, but my mom didn't have any vanilla ice cream. I like, Mom, I can't go a la mode. She had her and my sister arguing about it. She's like, Mom, you had like a whole tub of ice cream. My mom goes, I ate it. She's like, Mom. So the whole tub of vanilla ice cream was gone. But I did have peach cobbler. My favorite thing in the world is probably good peach cobbler, hot. Take that scoop of ice cream and put it right on top. And as it's melting, eat it as the parts it's melting, as the ice cream gets soft. Oh my God, that is probably the best ever. But For breakfast, my favorite thing in the world is basically strawberry crepes, ultra thin pancakes basically, but made out of a little different stuff. But those things with like a little cheesecake or strawberries wrapped up and then some strawberry drizzle stuff on the top. Oh my God. You couldn't ask for a better, I consider like a breakfast. I don't know. And I know you can get on cruise ships. You can get it at Denny's in a pinch. But I've yet to find anybody that will make me crepes. But they are delicious. Probably my favorite breakfast. Not my favorite dessert. It'd be right there with the peach cobbler a la mode, right? Now you can't go wrong. Pumpkin pie. You know what? I didn't get a piece of pumpkin pie because they also had a piece of chocolate pie. No, wait, did I have one or two? Oh, shoot. I had two pieces of chocolate pie because one of the girls wouldn't eat their chocolate pie. Ooh, I got to hit the gym. Hopefully it's open tomorrow. I tried to go to the gym yesterday. It wasn't open. It didn't open today. Yeah, I'm feeling like a lard, you know what. But I'm in bulk mode, right? All right, now for the bad, and then we'll finish this deal out. Whew, I got a love-hate relationship with this reel, but it's really not this reel. What I just found out like 2 days ago, because I'm a moron, and I don't really look at the stores I buy from unless I start really dealing with them, like the LT fishing store is probably the only one I could, rattle off the name of who I've been buying stuff from. I'm going to leave this down there because it focuses in, it seems to stay. So anyway, if you guys remember the story, I bought the one to check it out, right? And when I bought one of the Acuras. The Acura was fine. This thing come in at 8-to-1 with the shallow spool, which I really didn't want. I wanted a dual spool. So I filed a deal. I had that crazy talk with that guy. He's like, oh, what do you want me to do? Shut the store down? This, he's like rambling on. I'm like, dude. So I got a partial refund and I kept the reel. So then when this other sale popped up, I was like, I'm going to get 2 more of those reels. Well, I could only get one from the Kingdom official store at $62, and then I found another one for $71, I think. Well, I just, next cheapest one, I just clicked, bought it, and then all of a sudden it comes in. It's the wrong reel, completely wrong reel. Well, I go back to start messaging and filing a complaint. Guess what? Oh my God. It's the same dude. I wasn't really going to say much about his store, but then he starts doing that same crap again. So the ZB fishing store, stay away from. And you probably won't hear me actually come out and knock a store, but I'm telling you guys right now, I've only made 2 purchases. Both were for a reel that was supposed to be, and I did not get the right reel both times. So I don't know why. He's trying to blame me. I think you're a liar. He literally called me a liar. He goes, then he wanted me to promise him and swear to God that I didn't switch the reel. So I'm like, dude, look, okay. I said, I do live streams. I make my own videos. I said, you gonna watch. Like, I'm not gonna try to scam somebody for a $70 reel. Dude, get over it. I'm like, I don't know what you got going on at your store, but it ain't me. So anyway, I told him too. I was like, yeah, I swear to God, why would I want to switch stuff? So no, I didn't do it. You, somewhere along your lines, you did it. What they're wanting me to ship back the reel, and I already checked, it's going to be like 17 to 20 bucks to ship that piece of junk back. And I showed it to you guys in the other unboxing video. I'm like, dude, just refund me my money. Like, I said, this reel's junk. Like, you know yourself, it's not worth 20 bucks. And I said, do you want to pay for, well, it's not really worth me, like he don't want to pay me, reimburse me for the shipping. I'm like, I tell you what, I'm just going to blast you out on my channel, and maybe the word will spread that maybe nobody should buy from your store. And yes, and the first time he'd messaged me, he's like, you want me to shut the store down? So I was like, yeah, maybe you should shut down. If you can't get the reel shipped out the right way and can't take care of business, maybe you should shut down. Maybe you shouldn't be a store. So anyway, ZB. Z as in Zorro, B as in butt, fishing store. Do not pay attention. I'm telling you, there's some stores out there, and I'm pretty sure this guy's one of them. You do not want to jack with them. Like, the LT fishing store is still legit. That guy was going to do whatever it took to, if you guys remember right, they shipped me the wrong sided reel. Right reel, it was a left-hand retrieve. And we all know that's the wrong way to fish. But that's besides the point. So, one of you subscribers, I can't remember your name, sorry, off the top of my head, is like, I'll buy it. So I sold it, and actually a couple of you were like, I'll buy it, because now you can't even get those things anymore. So I just sold it to one of you guys, and he didn't need to refund me. That was the only issue I've ever really had on AliExpress, but he had no problems with, he was actually telling me where to take it to where it wouldn't cost basically either one of us much to ship it back, and he was going to send me the right one, right? So I was like, I'll just sell it. So I just bought another one right-handed. He made sure himself, personally, that the right-handed one made it to me, and then I turned that into the Joker that now Charles has, right? You guys follow along with Bass and Bonsai. We do a lot of stuff around here. But what we don't like is and I don't even know if this dude's an illegitimate store or just an incompetent on making sure stuff gets shipped right. I have no clue. I'm just telling you guys. I have to mention it to you if I mention you what I recommend, what I don't recommend, because I will never buy another anything. And he's what he's trying to do now. He's like, well, I'll tell you what, go on my store and buy this or this and that, and I'll give you discounts, and then you won't lose any money. I'm like, dude, you're not understanding me. I'm not dealing with you again. So ZB Fishing Store, be warned. I'm telling you guys, don't come on here going, you know what? I did buy something from that dude and got screwed. Like, oh, that's on you. Now, I could file, and I still may, because I don't know what happened when they tried to act like, okay, I accepted that I'm going to ship it back to him and get a refund. Well, I can't message them, AliExpress that is. I can only deal with this goofball until, I guess I just got to let that process end and then dispute it again or something. I don't know. So anyway, it's kind of a lesson learned. The good out of it the reel he sent me was the wrong reel the first time, and I wanted a deep spool. Well, the second reel was the wrong reel, but it did have the right box, and it had a deep spool that fits in these. So I just took the deep spool, put in the other one, and so basically out of $145, I got the right reel. And I have a deep and a shallow spool, one reel, but it's 8-to-1 ratio. And I've learned a lesson to never buy from that store again, right? And I may still get some money back, because at one time they were going to give me a $38 or almost $40 refund and keep that funky reel. Like, dude, that reel's junk. I don't want it. Just give me all my money back. I'll throw this one in the trash if you want. You can watch me. I'll make a video showing you I destroyed it and throw it in the trash. Like, I don't want the reel. It's junk. It's not worth the shipping cost to get it back to you guys. So anyway, yeah, I was riled up. When I was messaging with that dude and he's calling me a liar, I'm like, no, you did not. Right? You guys know the deal. You've done some of this online stuff, and it could be from AliExpress. It could be from eBay. I've had some horrible luck in the past with eBay. I at one time was a seller on eBay. And there's people that can. I get where he's coming from. There's people that can try to scam you. I got scammed on eBay out of like a $400 RC car. Did not want to ship overseas. At that time, I don't even know how it works now. It may be different. Like, I couldn't insure anything, right? So I'm like, unless I can insure anything over, I think I had like a $10 limit or 20, something like that. I'm like, if it can't be insured to ship to you, I'm not going to jack with it, because I didn't want the hassle. Well, this guy, of course, he's a scammer, talked me into shipping it to him. Well, I told him when I took it to the post office, because this is a big RC. It's an 8-scale RC car, so it was big. It was going to cost a lot of money to get all the way over to, I don't even remember where it was. Was it China? I don't know. It was somewhere a long ways off and I told him I'm going to ship it the cheapest way possible, and it was going to take like 2 weeks to get there. So, and I told him that. I sent him the stuff, and I told him it's going to be 2 weeks. So he agreed. He sent the payment. However, I can't remember if he must use PayPal. Yeah, he PayPal'd me the money. So I took it to the post office, sent it. Dude, within 3, maybe 4 days, he filed a claim, disputed, act like he didn't receive it. I'm like, dude, it ain't supposed to be there yet. Like, you got a whole nother week and a day or two. Well, and I guess PayPal may still be this way. They just usually always go with whoever is the purchaser, right? Not the seller. So basically they're trying to say I owed him the money. I'm like, dude, first of all, look at at the time I had the eBay thing right on this deal. Like, all my stuff said, no guarantee. That's why the whole thing of insurance. Get insurance. I can't guarantee what the post office does, as we all know, right? The post office can break a rod, can do this and that, so insured it. If I couldn't put insurance on it, it's as is, no guarantee. It may come, it may be smashed, it may be broke. That's going to be on your end. That was, I had a whole thing there on that, but anyway, the point is, had horrible luck with eBay there for a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about selling none of that crap. Messing with nothing. Because basically not making as much money as what my time involved in jacking with all that crap was. So done. Done dealing with people wanting to buy stuff from me. That's why if you guys are like, why don't you make these single lifestyle handles and sell them? Dude, done been there, done that. No part of it. I make bass fishing videos. I'll talk to you guys about what I'm using, what I recommend. That's it. I'm not getting associated with none of that stuff, or, and that's like when I do sell something here, maybe one of you guys buy it or whatever. And as long if I've used it, I'm like, it may have a scratcher somewhere, something somewhere. I don't sell anything new. I'm not a store. I don't sell new products, new merchandise. You get it, it's got a scratch, that's on you. If I see something, and I sold the Aldebaran to my buddy Jeremy that I dropped. If you guys remember the things, like if I see scratches, a gouge or something, I will show that if I'm trying to sell something. But as long as ones like these I'm looking at right here, this Zillion, I think this is the one, has a little mark right there. Takes a little, the right angle, lighting, there's a little mark right there. I think that's it on this one. But anyway, if I sold this, it's going sold as is, used, maybe a light scuff. But you guys know I use the socks, and but anything will and can, especially nowadays. None of these companies, Shimano, Daiwa, Abu Garcia, hardly have any kind of decent finishes, and they haven't for years. Megabass is one of the most horrible ones. Almost anything painted black on a Megabass, rod or reel, it's flaking off. Trust me. The older Megabass stuff, rod or reels. I had my higher end, the Shading X, and out of the Destroyer lineup, that black on around some of the reel seat places, flat black, gone. The Alphas, Zonda, Rosos, and all those, any black, it's going to be flaking. Of course, these are good because that's not a paint, that's just a finish. That's why these just lighten up as they go, the Dark Wolf Ultra. So these kind of hold, there's no paint to flake off. So far, the Acuras, trying to look, these seem like a very good, it's almost like you can see the clear coat over the silver. So it's almost like if they do get a nick or something, it's probably just going to be the clear coat, not necessarily the paint. I'm just telling you guys right now, for the price, the first one I bought was like 77 or 78 bucks. Still worth it. Now you can get them as cheap as 60 something. And I cannot get this thing to focus tonight for no. I don't know why. What is it? Is it my hands? Is it me? I got turkey hands. Oh my gosh. You can feel the difference between these and a Dark Wolf Ultra. All of them. The Dark Wolf Ultra is the only one that has an extra little smoothness right here, and then I like the way that this part is. If you guys have heard me talk about that before in videos. That's just a little more rounded, just a hair, but you can, and then this is like this. And just that little bit of extra, it's hard to explain. Charles can even tell you, he's like, you can feel the difference. Like it has that little extra palming smoothness that this doesn't. But these palm, they palm good. They palm probably a touch better than the Zillion. The only thing that beats any of these would maybe be the Corrado 70, the Corrado BFS, I think the 70, and there's a few others with that frame. That'd be the only ones. The older Aldebaran and the new Aldebaran, I feel palm about the same, but they're a little different. They're more like these. They palm very good. They're about the next best, but they're not quite the Corrados and the Dark Wolf Ultras, in my opinion, are the top two. And the Corrado beats them all, but it's a heavier reel. It's weird. The Corrado's probably no heavier, maybe even be lighter than the Zillion. I'm not sure, but it looks smaller and it palms smaller. So when you feel that weight, you're like, what the heck? So right here. So if you're buying something on AliExpress, just do not go to the ZB fishing store. But almost I think every other place I've ever bought any of that stuff, it's there. It's good. There's no issue. And you can follow a dispute, and you can go back and forth. I just don't like the whole haggling back and forth stuff either. But you can do it. But I've only really had the one time with the LT fishing store worked itself out. And then this guy, same store twice. So yeah, I'm done with that dude. The good news is, here's the good news. Man, I'm just dragging. I just talk. I'm like in a talking mood. I need to get this video wrapped up. So he sent me the wrong reel twice, but by doing the one on the second time, he gave me a spool that I can put in the first goof up he made. So then what I'm going to do, that gives me 2 reels, because the other one from the Kingdom store and the original one he sent me gives me 2 deep spooled reels to run on the bigger purple rods. Then what I'm going to do is go back to basics on what I started out with. And the whole, if you remember the beginning of this season, over the last winter, I got the first purple rod. And why does that name escape me right now? The contest rods. And I had the filling, right? So the filling now will get the, because I have it, the Black Knight 2, which I'd kind of given to Noah. Noah kind of quit fishing it. So Noah's getting a different reel. I'm going to put the Black Knight 2 back on the filling. These are going on the Sharp and the Quick. So that will cover purple reels on the purple rods. And why? Because I'm not going to fish those rods. All that, it's done. For me, it's not because of these reels. It's because those rods, just the hookup ratio, if you guys remember right. So I'm rigging up these cool purpley dudes, and for the guy that says he's not a girl, well, the coolest purple ones, they're going for the girls, because I let Maddie, when Casey fished it, the few times she was fishing with me, and the time I let Maddie use them, they could not miss a fish. It was insane, the hookup ratio compared to how I've kind of struggled with those purple rods. So they're girly rods. They're going to be for the girls, and it's actually because they're just a little bit stouter in the overall, I guess, bend of the rod. Maybe it's the fact that they're 2-piece and they're just that stiffer woven. You know, they're definitely like a lighter, crisper feel than the Carbon Light 2.0s. But man, me and them Carbon Light 2.0s, I got something going with those in the braid and the hookup ratios. It's definitely better if you're using them for the right thing. It still works for the others, but when you use them for what I have them for, like, you know, the 6'9" medium heavy for chatterbaits, the 7-foot heavy for the littler jigs and bigger jigs, the 7-foot medium light, or I mean the 7-foot medium moderate is going to be for my basically half-ounce trebles and anything in between, you know, maybe a 3/4 ounce, you know, basically treble hooked baits. Can still throw the smaller chatterbaits probably. So far so good on that. And then that medium light one's probably going to be like shaky heads, real small cranks, you know, the small chatterbaits, the little micros and stuff like that. Excellent. So I'm kind of fixed on rods. I've got kind of what I use. I got the other purple ones if I needed a rod as a backup rod or something. And I also have the, well, I'm actually giving Noah the one I really like too, the Fate Black. I feel I'm struggle for whatever reason with ups on it a little bit. That's probably the best filling rod of all the rods I own. That rod feels awesome. It definitely does not have the hookup ratio with the braid as what the Carbon Lights do either, or it may be a touch worse than the purple rods, and I still cannot figure that out. But I love the feel of that rod, and it works, like as far as the casting and filling, and you can catch fish on it. Should I give it another chance? I don't know. I think Noah wants it, so I think I'm going to give it to him and just put a different reel on it. So what you're going to see me fishing with are the Zillions and these Acuras on Carbon Lights for my main stuff. Now, if I go out just BFS fishing, you guys know I still got the all of those BFS rods. We've got 3 of the Dark Wolf Ultras. So like with whether it be the Teton 522 SUL I still have. Oh, the Rainy Stream Kyram rod, which is my favorite BFS rod of all time. I just love that rod. It was a $200 rod from AliExpress, but man, I just love that rod. I'm not sure how well I like a Dark Wolf Ultra on it. I may actually switch one of these around, and I may put a silver reel on that rod, see what it looks like. With the, it's fixed, but it's got the better braking than the MagTrack style like these have, just by a little. For true ultimate lower end BFS stuff, you cannot beat this reel. But I can put the guts into one of these if I want. Or, because the purple one wouldn't look good. I don't know about the black smooth one. This one may look good. Or I could put another Zillion. I'm tempted to buy another Zillion. And I've still got that gold spool. The if you guys remember right, the I already forget the name of that spool, but the Dragon spool from AliExpress, insane lightweight throws. And this Zillion, I stuck it on there the other day. Feels like a pretty good, it would work very good on that one as far as my favorite BFS like setup, ultralight BFS. Regular BFS, probably still the Teton and the Dark Wolf Ultra. Especially for the money. The Teton's still a little expensive. Like if you want to go budget, and you guys are looking right now and you're like, Charlie, you're talking about all this stuff, yet you haven't really mentioned what would I go buy if I went to buy like budget BFS, budget regular gear, or higher end stuff. If I was on the cheapest budget, which I can't be because I got to buy all this stuff and show you guys what does and doesn't work, or some of it anyway, I would go and I'd pick up one of these Dark Wolf Ultras, and I would buy the Ace Hawk CU Double. Comes with two. I'm pretty sure it's still available. I'm not sure what it's selling for. It was always under 40 bucks anyway. I would get the CU Double, and I would deal with that nasty looking handle. I sold mine to Charles. I fixed the handle. I put a cork handle on it. And I may jump on there and buy another one, but I would probably get that CU Double. Like, you cannot beat 55, 60 bucks, 40 for that. You're talking just over $100 combo that is going to be awesome for kind of all your BFS needs. You're going to have to get into little bigger, like if you start throwing Zinkerz on a shaky head, which is almost regular gear, then you'll want to get into like your more medium light rods. Like the Teton Light 6.6 Light is the only light rod I've seen that can handle throwing some of your regular gear. Otherwise, you need a medium light. Like you need the kind of like we have. Well, no, I take that back. Dude, what am I saying? The feeling rod is also the feeling contest rod is probably the best overall light rod I've ever seen. But like I've told you guys, those contest rods are really misrated. They're rated wrong. I feel the light is really a medium light because it is stiffer than the light Teton and most other lights I've ever felt. It's more like in a medium light zone, just with a more forgiving, more moderate bend. But it's more like a medium light. The medium light is more like a medium, and the medium is more like a medium heavy. Like it feels a little stiffer than, it definitely is stiffer than any of my medium rods, but it feels more like the medium heavy 6'9" carbon light, except it doesn't have as much, it's not quite as, have as much bend down into the blank as far. It jumps in the backbone a little quicker even than that medium heavy, is why I think it doesn't work as good for chatterbaits. And if you do a lighter hook set or almost none and you don't reel in as aggressively as I do, the fish stays on a little better, and that's why the girls are doing better with those rods. But you cannot beat jumping in if you wanted to get one of these in the filling rod. You're jumping out of that budget, but for a very nice, cover a lot of fishing and power BFS fishing, is that contest feeling, which is their 6'8" light rod with one of these micro monsters. Kingdom micro monster, the dual spool 7-to-1 is what I'd still recommend. And I'd use a deep spool with like 10-pound braid, and then put whatever leader to whatever you're fishing. If you're fishing real little stuff, go 4, 6, whatever, 8, 10-pound. P-line original is also the line, but I don't think they go real down low, so you'd need some other fluorocarbon or whatever if you want to go lower than, I think they go down to 6-pound. If you want to go 4 or 2 or whatever, you guys are on your own. I don't fish that kind of line. It's too small for me. So if I was going, my favorite of all time so far, just for all the stuff you'd want to get, I would get an Acura and a carbon light setup. Or if I was going budget, I would still get the Acura, but then I would jump into the Falcon rods that are on AliExpress. They're on Tacklewarehouse, or you can get them everywhere. Falcon HD rods. They're only like 69 bucks, I think. You throw on one of these reels with a deep spool, put whatever line you plan on fishing on it, on those rods, and you're talking under $150 combo that is going to work very good. Those I haven't fished them. I've put them in hand and felt them up at Rogers. They don't feel cheap made. They look like good quality. They look like something that should probably be selling, in all honesty, for like 140 to 50 bucks or so. And they're almost like they feel. I feel when I grab one and hold it, and how light they feel and how good they feel. Unless they were just snapping right and left, which I haven't heard any complaints on that. And I think they do come with a guarantee. Short one anyway. It's almost like they're $100 cheaper than they should be, in all honesty. They're very good Cork looks good, feels good, everything's good about them. So check those out with one of these reels. If I had to get a reel other than AliExpress, as far as cheap goes, yeah, I don't know if there is one that I like. I'd almost jump right back into the Black Max or the X, whatever that cheapest Abu is. It's probably I like over the Daiwas or the Shimano's that they offer. But for the Falcon HDs, you probably couldn't go wrong with one of the Shimano SLX. Those are also very, I've had them in hand. They kind of look a little cheap made as far as the shape. They're kind of squared, but they do palm good. I just can't make myself like those other than the BFS one they got and the newest one that they have out that are basically like the Corrado, if you know what I'm saying. They're shaped like the Corrado. And if you want to check out any of these reels, I'm talking about SLX, and because I haven't used them, and you don't know about the reel test, he's checked all those out. You can go check him out before you jump online and buy anything. Of course, he's going to tell you, I can tell you right now, as a Jay and some of you guys will know, that anything Shimano, he's going to tell you they're very good when you're watching his videos. But they are. They're very good reels. I can't knock any Shimanos I've owned as far as they do work good. I don't think I've ever gotten a Shimano and went, man, this thing just works like crap, like it's junk. I hate it. They work good. There's usually little stuff that I just don't like about them. Like the current one I have right now. I've talked about it several times, the Aldebaran. The old Aldebaran I loved, except it always had a little more noise than it should have had in casting, but man, it cast good for what it was back then. Still casts good today, but for what it was back when it first came out, it was awesome. It was kind of loud, and it didn't palm bad, but the sharp the top of it was always a little offsetting to me the way it was made. And the new one only got worse in my opinion, but it palms a little better. And it actually works way better and way quieter. The new Aldebaran bearings are insane. That is the best part about that new reel. The new bearings and the new spool is like insane how well they work for like all around and very light BFS. Can't beat it. I don't like the reel they came out with though. Just something about that reel. Can't make myself like it. So if I had to pick, I would go with Carbon Light and one of these as far as just my favorite period. I would get an Acura, whatever Carbon Light floats your boat. In my opinion, the 6'9" medium heavy covers a wider range of everything and is the best rod in that lineup. I picked it out for chatterbaits and it did work good. I do like the 7-foot heavy, but it's limited how low you could go. The moderates or anytime you get into the mediums, they're going to be limited on how high you go. That 6'9" medium heavy with one of these reels, I can go way down. The only thing that's going to limit me is where I set the drag on how light a bait, say a little treble hooked bait. That medium heavy rod is going to have so much power, I can yank it right out of their mouths. If I want to compensate, I can come back, several notches on my drag to where that drag is going to give a little more. The rod's still not. The rod does have enough flex. It'll help a little bit on getting a fish in, but if you got a drag set too tight with say 15-pound test, that's where you can yank the hooks right out of them. But as far as casting lightweight baits, that 6'9" medium heavy with this reel, I can cast insanely light baits. And it'll handle heavier stuff too, right? But if I wanted never gonna let you down no matter what over the years, and my favorite reel would be the Zillion. Get a Zillion, put it on the Carbon Light, and it's like game on. The only other one I would also recommend that I have fished with, and you guys heard me talk about it, is either of these reels. If you like, Charlie, I don't want to buy any cheap reel. I don't want plastic, right? I crank the drag as tight as I can get it. Get a Zillion. Then I would get the Fate Black. The 13 Fishing Fate Black. The Zillion, oh man, it palms so good. It's like those two were made together, right? For each other. A Zillion with Fate Black, but these also go right on those Fate Blacks and work real good. So that's another one. They're only $79, $80, so $65. You're still under that $150, and you can do a lot with this on the Falcon HDs or the 13 Fishing Fate Blacks. Fate Blacks are a little more modern looking rod. Definitely, in my opinion, a better built rod. The Falcon HDs are more traditional style looking, but still in their own way look very good and work very good. The actions feel very good anyway. I'm sure they'll work perfect on the water. The only other, I don't really have a reel in the Shimano's I like. I like the Bantam reels, but they're heavy. I don't like the newer model of the Bantam or the Metaniums. I actually liked the older Shimano's better. I like the Zillion better than any of the other Zillions that have been out previously, or the Tatulas. I'm still waiting for another version. I don't even like the new alphas that are out right now, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? They're good, but they're a little off. They're like the Aldebaran. I like the way these are right here and the Zillion. So that's why you see what I've got. The lingual or the lingual variants, they're still available on AliExpress. So anyway, guys, I got to get out here. I got to wrap this video up. What I'm going to buy is now the time, if there's a sale going on, because everybody starts jumping and looking at the high-end stuff. Don't forget, this is also the time to save some money if you do have some higher-end stuff you like. Like, say if you're like Charlie, I love those jackhammers. I just can't make myself buy the cheap AliExpress ones. Okay, now would be the time to jump on there on those higher-end baits, or just those plastics that you want to bulk up, you know, buy in bulk and stock up on them. You know, buy 5 packs of them, 8 packs if they're cheaper or whatever. The Baby Rage Menace or any of them rage baits should be on sale, I would imagine, on Tackle Warehouse. Jump in there and get those. They do make a version, something like this, on AliExpress. Jay's tried them. I think he said they're all right. I've not yet bought any because I'm going to try to weed myself out of them. But I probably will always carry a pack of each color in these Baby Rage Menace because, man, the one day it didn't matter. I switched out in the darker black because that's the only way they come in the goat. The black and blue is the darker. It didn't matter. I still, and my biggest fish I caught on a jig was caught on this combo here. But I think this combo would have done the same thing. I'm hoping Z-Man comes out with a more blue in the goat. Z-Man, anybody works for Z-Man, if you're watching this, we need a more blue, because up until this year, I didn't realize how much difference. Sometimes you need a more blue. Like you need a half and half, or maybe a touch on the more blue than you do black. And Van Hendrickson on Average Joe's on Facebook, I've seen him throw for years now, a couple years now, several years. He's probably thrown them for a lot, but I've watched a couple years. He's always, if you watch him talking about getting on a chatterbait bite, he's usually holding up a whole blue, and he uses some guy, he makes his chatterbaits, I think, for him, but like a custom color. It's just like almost all blue. And he'll like kind of swear by him. Now, I got out there fishing, and for whatever reason, a regular black and blue, but if you look at the difference, how much more blue was in this one started getting hit to where the normal black and blue with this same trailer, I actually took it off this bait and put it on this one, started getting hit. And I think it was that blue, because that's also the bait that seemed to get hit more. And I went the next day with Matt, and it got colder, and this one basically stopped working. I went to this, and it was game on. Same exact jig. The jigs are the exact same. And I don't think it was the flappiness of the things. I think it was just that more intense blue. They were just on that more of a bite. Because I was getting out there with the jig that was this color, basically. And it's funny, they were hitting at it. It felt like I was getting hit quicker, but I think they were just slapping at it. They weren't trying to eat it. They could just see it quicker than they could the black and blue, but they didn't really weren't committing to hitting that jig that was that color. So when I went to the black and blue, it worked. But the day, or the previous time I went fishing, I was catching them when I went out in the open water. That color was working. I had to get around the wood, and the black and blue just kicked in and went nuts. But I wanted to talk real quick about that as far as colors go, because although and Brew Tank will tell you, he had attested to this, I've talked about giving away these in a video several times and doing different stuff with them. But Bruce says he always has his fingers crossed ordering from Ali. I'm not even like that. Would you say where I get the cork handle knobs? AliExpress. Those. This I made myself, but they come from AliExpress, but they're like I want to say they're like a flute. There's something for a musical piece of equipment, and you got to cut them all down yourself. It just comes as like a little, almost like a cork stopper on a wine bottle or something, and I cut it down. But those you can buy pre-made. I cut those down too. They come more bulbous. They look something like this one. This is that press cork. But they come looking a lot bigger, and they would work, but I always just sand mine down some. And I got videos out on that, you guys. You guys go back and look. There's videos I talk about, and I think I even put the link in, because you can get these for like $1.20, but you do have to do a lot of work to get them to looking like that. These come made just like that, but I put them on a deal on my Dremel, and I basically just turn the Dremel on and I just kind of shape them with a piece of sandpaper to get them down to wherever I want them, to where it feels good. But on colors, the actual jackhammers, I think I'm going to keep in my lineup, just because. But what I need to do is set these out in the sun, see if I can dull them down, because the jackhammer in this color, and I don't have it out, but the silver one, it comes with the silver head. The knockoffs don't come in that exact, like it can't get that color, but I do like this color better than anything that the Z-Mans or the jackhammer or Z-Mans in general have. This color and this color I like, but I also want to keep a more subtle green in with just that hint of chartreusey colors. Not a true all green, but one with the kind of white belly, little chartreusey. That color I think at times can be better than this. I don't think it has anything to do with one being a jackhammer or a jackhammer knockoff. I think it's just a little more subtle white and touch of chartreuse over that true chartreuse. And it's hard to tell in here, but like out in the sun, you can kind of tell a difference between those colors for sure, like a big difference. But I may need to take, I got several of these now. I may need to take a couple out and just set them like in the sun, leave them all day, and see if that fades that color down some, or a couple days. Just leave them out there until, if I see it change, check it each day I get home from work. If it looked like it changed and get something like this, then bring them back in. But there's just times with that blue and with this one, I've been out on that water, and when I did the mix up, like I've said before, color usually don't matter until it matters. And knowing when it matters and making little subtle changes sometimes can make a world of difference in your bite and how many fish actually you're hitting to eat, not just smacking at it, trying to kill it instead of trying to gobble it up right then and there, right? All right, guys, any questions, put them in the bottom. I will try to answer them. This video went way longer than I wanted it to. Oh, Brew Tank, CB Fishing Store, he commented and he puked on it. CB Fishing Store, I'm not sure if I've ever heard of it. But I don't know what hardly any of them are. I just know the LT Fishing Store, and then a lot of them have the official name, like Cast King has a store, Kingdom, most of the name brands like Kying has their own, but there's a lot of other little small stores. And then Brew Tank comment, it sounds like you're moving out of BFS deal, tournaments in the future. No. I might fish a tournament or two with Matt, but no, I'm not going to become a tournament fisherman. And I want to get back to BFS, but I don't know, I got on this crazy chatterbait deal of trying to just fine tune everything to do with chatterbaits, because I feel like I watch all these different guys out fishing chatterbaits, and it's almost like nobody knows the exact thing. Like you hear them talking about it, and it's like they're explaining it in a weird way. And I don't know, I just went on this crankbait, or, with the chatterbaits, like you would say crankbaits or with whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to fine tune and hone in exactly so I know exactly what I'm doing and what I'm feeling and how it's working. And so I feel I've gotten to, for me, what works. Like, that 6'9" medium heavy, and probably any of the medium heavy in that carbon light setup if you're using braid. But this, I don't think the reel matters, but I think about a 7, for me anyway. You've heard a lot of guys talk about different gear ratios and why. But I think like that 7, 7, 8, 5 to, I think once you get 8 or higher, that's too fast. And I think a 6.5 to 1 or 6.3 to 1 is too slow. So this reel right here seems about perfect. That 7.5 carbon light reel until it shot craps. That felt like a good, like I liked how it felt for the, the reeling in and working the baits. And then, just trying the various baits out. I seen that the jackhammers, the knockoffs, the Z-Man original, I probably will still keep a few of those in, and I honestly would probably start throwing those with that 7-foot heavy if I feel like I just need a little more power, and because the Z-Man originals have a bigger hook, and that's why I feel over the years I could get by with some of these rods I did, because I would put a power hook set on them with that braid, and that big hook, it stuck them, and it just came in. It actually worked better than these baits do for the way I was fishing it. I kind of have had to adapt a little to where these, I necessarily don't have to yank as hard, but I need to make sure these they're a smaller hook. Even the, I feel anyway that even the jackhammers take that, you kind of got to like load the rod, kind of pull to get that thing, and then set with a good hard hook set, but you don't need to necessarily yank their heads off. As long as you kind of got that pull going, because no matter how hard or soft you yank, if you just initially yank, a lot of times you're popping that mouth open by doing that by this blade. I feel that the original Z-Man has the best design ever going because it just has that little bit bigger, just a more burly hook to where you know, when you yank and that thing sticks them, it's pretty much always got them, and you don't need a more forgiving rod. Is why now you see a lot of guys, once they, you know, oh, to fish the jackhammer, to fish this, to fish that, you need these, you know, you need 20-pound fluoro and you need a more forgiving rod, and I think that's partially why. But I think I've about tuned that in. So anyway, I kind of got away all totally out of BFS stuff, and then fishing with Matt on his boat, and he fishes just that faster pace that you can't really throw lighter baits like you would with BFS. Like BFS is like a smaller water, slower pace type fishing. If the bite's on and fast, you're better off to go with bigger gear. A little heavier, bigger, you know, cover more water, keep moving. If there's a real good fast kind of bite going on. But there's nothing like when that bite gets a little tough, slowing down to BFS. And if you guys watch this, as soon as that water started dropping down, I'd throw in basically BFS gear with that shaky head, and bam, bam, it was game on. But then I was also throwing, you know, on heavy gear, the jig, even though it's finesse jig, it's just got enough stuff in the way you can't really, it's not any kind of BFS. It's finesse, but it's not BFS finesse. Even a powered BFS setup, you're going to be limited. The medium heavy or a heavy is what you want on when you get into true jig type fishing. So that's why I kind of upgraded to the bigger stuff for that, and kind of getting back into the jigs, because there's no doubt. If I'll tell you anything that we learned from this season, throw the jigs. The jig and the chatterbaits, right? That chatterbaits have actually picked up the more that I've gotten into that. I feel I've kind of adapted to where I can fish them differently, and I'm probably better chatterbait fisherman than I used to be, say, last year. And then this year, I don't know. I think I'm a better jig fisherman now, also kind of based on the fact that I've kind of copied, and I'll fish a jig similar to a chatterbait. Anyway. Yeah, cork fluted head joint. Nate says he found them. Yeah, they come with like a real little hole in the center. You got to like tap it out, make it bigger, but then they're about the right length, and then you just kind of shape, basically, you know, smooth, get the inside in a little bit, and it's pretty quick. I don't even know where they are. Hang on one second. But they're in another video, and I shared the link. Here's one. Here's one. But yeah, they're only like $1. I bought like 10 of them. I only cut 1 or 2 down. So yeah, they come, I don't think I made it any shorter. They come about the right length for a lot of these. Now, Abu Garcia, there's a couple that would be too big, too long. But most of them, they're about the right length. And of course, it's easy to cut them down if you need them a little shorter. But yeah, they're just like what he said. Nate tracked them down. Cork flute head joint. If you guys want to Google that, or in one of the unboxings there, I shared the link to them, the ones I found. Come with that little bitty hole, and it is good. It's pretty good cork. You guys can compare them. It's a little different styling, I guess. These are like $6 or $8 if you can find them cheap. They come with the whole handle assembly, though. The little, you can get, I think you can get, one time you could get red, gold, silver, or black or something like that. But you can see the cork's a little kind of turned differently how it is. These always, most corks seems like the lines are like this, and these on these seems like it goes with the. But yeah, it seems good and strong. I mean, it's good cork. So I don't know if or when or whatever, because the carbon lights, I think it just the cork knob does not look right on the carbon light rods because they've got the wind grip gray material, so these seem good. And these are ones you can just buy the regular type knob, and then I cut them down. I kind of like this one cut down. I got 2 more coming, the more just round ones. I'm going to try those. If I like them, I'll probably order them for all the carbon lights. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, I've talked way too long. Hour and 14 minutes. Bruce says, got to do a tournament because you do know your shit. Would be a good video too. Yeah, well, I did a couple videos and they're on Bass and Bonsai. Me and Emily, you can go back and look, like Tiny Boat Nation tournaments. Me and Emily, we sucked. We pre-fished, did good. We went out fishing. I think we only caught 2 keepers. Watkins Mill, I'd only fished it the one time before, pre-fished, and then won again. And then Grady, I think, won it. My buddy Grady, and he's the one I told about the whole chatterbait. I'm like, oh yeah, you need to get chatterbaits and throw them and this and that. So he caught the biggest fish, and that's what helped him win on a chatterbait. He's like, well, I wouldn't even known to throw a chatterbait if it wasn't for you. I'm like, yeah, thanks. But anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. I just don't like, I'm going to tell you real quick, and then I'm definitely getting out of here. I don't like tournaments for the simple fact it cuts into your fishing. You only get weekends, right? I work 5 days a week. I'm off on the weekend. You go on a Saturday tournament or whatever. Like the times I did, even when I met them for the tiny boat thing, we got to get there. We get our boat ready. We're ready to go. Well, we're waiting. There's a start time, right? There's always a start time. It's never at first light. It's usually a half hour, hour, maybe sometimes even 2 hours into. It's already been, sun's coming up, right? Man, there's topwater times. Done, right? Jesus. Then, okay, we're going to meet back here at 2 or 3 or whatever, you know. And it's like, dude, there's still so much other time to fish. Like, what if the bite's not even on? I mean, yeah, you can technically at some of these smaller things, you know, go way back in, then you could go fishing again. But then you're already in your mind. You say you caught 5 decent fish, and you go in, and well, you lost, you sucked, right? So like takes your steam out, and then next thing you know, you didn't even. I don't know. It's just a whole thought of tournaments, in my opinion. I'm not in for it. I like fishing for the fun of just tracking them down, figuring out what's working, and then a lot of times doing this kind of stuff, looking, searching for new baits, getting them, trying them, you know, just like you guys heard them talk about on Tactical Bass, and that's a big part of it for me, is like when I track down these AliExpress baits, right? Get these cheap jigs from Rogers that just work good. Find these cheap reels, and they're awesome reels. They work good. When you get out on the water and you put that all together and you just get on this little insane bite, maybe you just changed one thing, you cut one bait down, and man, it just like turned them on. Or you know, you watch somebody else and you're seeing something they're doing, and they may not even realize exactly what they're doing, and then you change the bait up a little bit, work it, you know, the way they were doing it, but you changed a bait to a different bait or different color or something, then that turns it on. I mean, it's those kind of things over like me trying to get into where I want to beat other people at fishing. Like, I hope they catch big fish too, so I don't, you know, that would take that away from it. It's like, oh, you suck, you know. So I don't know if I'll fish any tournaments with Matt or some. He's talked about it. He's wanted me fishing for the last year or so. So you may see me in another tournament, me and Charles in a tournament, in a small John boat tournament. Who knows? But as of right now, I just can't wait till the water warms up enough for these jigs, well, for the chatterbaits to kick in. That's when it'll be game on. But anytime I can get out here on the water, may go out Saturday or Sunday. It's going to be 40s and 50s with rain, so I don't know this weekend. But I want to get out, throw some jigs, and shaky head with the Zinkerz, and try to get on some fish if I can get out there comfortably without just freezing my you-know-what off. I will try to do that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Get out, go Bass and Bonsai. Do not eat too many leftovers. Get to the gym. Whew, I got to get to the gym. Or, yeah, do whatever cardio. Cardio is all about, right? I don't do cardio. I just lift some weights. I have been doing some cardio because if you try to bulk up, you still need to do cardio and mainly protein. Eat your protein if you're trying to build muscle. French fries, I know, meat and potato kind of guy. Eat the meat, leave out the potatoes unless you're eating them right before you're going to do a physical stuff, right? Work, exercising, something like that. You go home, eat potatoes, French fries, all those carbs, and don't do any kind of stuff. That's what puts it on you. Eat your protein like right after a workout, right before, whatever, or physical activities, and then cut down all the other stuff except for maybe some good old protein. And don't eat too late. I know you guys don't want to hear me ramble on about this stuff. But anyway, go do it. I gotta go. Bye. I'm done talking. Brew tank, if you're lucky, at some point I'll give something away, but you probably won't win it.